Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today we are doing the first video of a new series. I did the 118th Congress and their congressional donors. I'm going to try to turn it up on this new series, the 119th Congress, where we look at the members of the 119th Congress and we look at not only their donors, I'm going to try to look at some of their votes and stuff like that. So we have a better in depth look at who they are. Because honestly, I feel everyone should have the right to know who their congressmen feel indebted to. So that's why I was doing the 118th. And I got through, I think, all members. I haven't seen any new ones over the last couple days because I still do check to make sure no one else is showing up. But anyway, I look at the 119th. They will begin office on January 3rd, 2025. So it'll be less than a month that they'll be in office. Matter of fact, matter of weeks, 2.5, 3, something like that. So we'll see the 119th Congress take their places. They'll be in office for the last 17 days of Joe Biden's presidency and be there for the first 2 years of Donald Trump's second presidency, the shit-stained son of a bitch. I'm sorry, I don't like Trump. He is an absolute moron. But I'm not here to talk about that. This video is merely introducing y'all to the 119th Congress. I've got the Wikipedia page pulled up about information on it. It says it'll be the lowest amount of split delegations since direct popular election of senators began in 1914. Remember, with your senators, they began as being the state parties elected them instead of necessarily the people. 1914, we switched over to allow the people to vote for not only House of Representatives but also Senate. And this will be the lowest number of states with split delegations, meaning they have senators from different parties. Those states being Maine, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, meaning Maine will have, I think it's Angus King. He's an independent. I think the other one is a Democrat. Pennsylvania will have a Democrat and Republican, and Wisconsin a Democrat and Republican. It's the lowest number of states like that since we began popular election for senators where the public actually votes for them in 1914. So, with that said, also remember, senators don't get freshly new elected every 2 years. House of Representatives do. Their terms only last a full 2 years, so they have one term, which is the Congress, will be the 118th was 2, 119th will be 2. 119th Congress will last from January 3rd, 2025 to January 3rd, 2027. Now, uh, so the House of Representatives, they have terms that last 2 years, but your Senate is 6 years, and thus we have rotations. 1/3 of the Senate for one term is elected, the next third for the next term, and the final third for the next term, and then we come back around again. So that's how your elections go. Now, yeah, major events. January 3rd, the Congress will convene and the House will vote for a speaker. More than likely, it is going to be Mike Johnson again, because I believe the House of Representatives does have a Republican majority, despite it being a thin one. January 6th, they'll have a joint session to count electoral votes and certify the 2024 U.S. presidential election. Remember what happened on January 6, 2021, when Trump lost and he didn't want to admit it for the longest time and made his people, his supporters, basically almost tried to kill a vice president and set up an insurrection against the U.S. Congress. And, of course, January 20th is when Trump takes his office, so. But anyway, that is how our new Congress is going to begin. We'll have Kamala Harris over the Senate until Joe Biden's term officially ends. Like I said, that'll be 17 days. Afterwards, we'll get J.D. Vance to preside over the Senate. He'll have that role. For the 119th Congress in the Senate, we have the majority Republican leadership, which the majority leader will be John Thune of South Dakota. Our majority whip will be John Barrasso of Wyoming. Conference chair Tom Cotton of Arizona. Policy chair Shelley Moore Capito of West Virginia. Conference vice chair James Lankford of Oklahoma, and campaign chair Tim Scott of South Carolina. As it sits right now, given there are no further changes that maybe Trump wants to pick somebody from Congress, but that being said, as it sits right now, I'm trying to get, my mouse has not been wanting to work right for me. Now, the minority leadership, the Democratic leadership in the Senate, our minority leader will be, minority leader and caucus chair will be Chuck Schumer of New York. Minority whip will be Dick Durbin of Illinois. Steering and policy chair Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota. Strategic Communications Chair Cory Booker of New Jersey. Caucus Vice Chairs Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts and Mark Warner of Virginia. Outreach Chair Bernie Sanders of Vermont. Caucus Secretary Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin. Campaign Chair to be determined. Outreach Vice Chair Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada. Caucus Deputy Secretaries Brian Schatz of Hawaii and Chris Murphy of Connecticut. Chief Deputy Whip Brian Schatz of Hawaii. And other deputy whips they have listed: Jeff Merkley of Oregon, Tina Smith of Minnesota, Jean Shaheen of New Hampshire, Jackie Rosen of Nevada, Ben Ray Lujan of New Mexico, and Lisa Blunt Rochester of Delaware. Now, let's look at our House of Representatives. The presiding, which is your speaker, it says to be determined, but I get the feeling we're probably going to see it more likely be Mike Johnson again. I don't think there was too much disagreement on how he was as a speaker, so he might be re-voted in. The majority Republican leadership will be Majority Leader Steve Scalise of Louisiana, District 1. Majority Whip will be Tom Emmer, representative of the 6th District of Minnesota. Conference Chair will be Lisa McClain, the 9th District of Michigan. Conference Vice Chair will be Blake Moore, the 1st District of Utah. Conference Secretary will be Aaron Houchin, the 9th District of Indiana. The Campaign Chair will be Richard Hudson, the 9th District of North Carolina. Policy Chair will be Kevin Hern, the 1st District of Oklahoma. And Chief Deputy Whip will be Guy Reschenthaler, the 14th District of Pennsylvania. The Minority Democratic leadership will be Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, the 8th District of New York. Minority Whip Catherine Clark, the 5th District of Massachusetts. Caucus Chair Pete Aguilar, who will be from the 33rd District of California. The Assistant Democratic Leader, Joe Neguse, who is from the 2nd District of Colorado. Caucus Vice Chair Ted Lieu, who is from the 36th District of California. And Campaign Chair will be Susan DelBene, from the 1st District of Washington. But yeah, that's what we'll be looking at as far as the leadership and everything. Just going down the list of all the members who will be in there, the House and the Senate, which I'll be discussing those when the series really gets going. Remember, there are 5 territories. I could not remember the word for the life of me. So they each get a representative, although they're usually just called delegates, and Washington, D.C. gets its own representative. They don't have anything in the Senate. It's just the 50 states who get 2 senators apiece. But yeah, the actual populated territories get a delegate to the House of Representatives, as well as the District of Columbia. So altogether, 6 representatives that are kind of outside the norm. Although I find it weird because the District of Columbia has more people than Wyoming. Yet, which is why I feel DC should be given a full representative, because a lot of the representatives under those populated territories in Washington, D.C. don't have all the same power as a regular representative, but they still have quite a bit of power. Anyway, what else do we need to discuss? Swear this mouse is annoying me. I've got to. Changes in membership. In the Senate, J.D. Vance leaves Ohio as a senator. Mark Rubio leaves Florida as one of the 2 senators. House of Representatives, we have Florida's 1st district vacant because Matt Gaetz did resign. Florida's 6th district, will resign when Trump takes office because he's to become the National Security Advisor. And New York's 21st district, Elise Stefanik, will resign at some point because she's to become Trump's ambassador to the United Nations, if confirmed. But special elections will be held if both those do indeed leave and new confirmations come in. As far as in the Senate with Vance and Rubio, it says successor will be appointed to continue the term once they start under Trump. That's why they'll still be in Congress for 17 days and then become in there. Committees we're going to be looking at in the Senate: Special Committee on Aging, the Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry, the Committee on Appropriations, the Committee on Armed Services, the Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs, the Committee on Budget, the Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation, the Committee on Energy and Natural Resources, the Committee on Environment and Public Works, the Senate Select Committee on Ethics, the Committee on Finance, the Committee on Foreign Relations, the Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, the Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, the Permanent Select Committee on Indian Affairs, the Select Committee on Intelligence, the Permanent Caucus of the International Narcotics Control, the Committee on the Judiciary, the Committee on Rules and Administration, the Committee on Small Business and Entrepreneurship, and the Committee on Veterans Affairs. Those are all the committees in the Senate. In the House of Representatives, we have the Committee on Agriculture, the Committee on Appropriations, the Committee on Armed Services, Committee on Budget, Committee on Education and the Workforce, Committee on Energy and Commerce, Committee on Ethics, Committee on Financial Services, Committee on Foreign Affairs, Committee on Homeland Security, Committee on House Administration, the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, Committee on Judiciary, Committee on Natural Resources, the Committee on Oversight and Reform, the Committee on Rules, the Committee on Science, Space, and Technology, the Committee on Small Business, the Select Committee on the Strategic Competition between the United States and the Chinese Communist Party, the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure, the Committee on Veterans Affairs, and the Committee on Ways and Means. And then we have the Joint Committees. This is committees that are made up of representatives and senators. You have the Joint Committee on the Joint Economic Committee, the Joint Committee on Inaugurals, the Joint Special Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, the Joint Committee on the Library, Joint Committee on Printing, and Joint Committee on Taxation. Officers and officials, people like the architect of the Capitol, attending physician in Congress. In the Senate, you got the chaplain, the curator, the historian, the librarian, the parliamentarian, secretary, sergeant-at-arms, and doorkeeper. In the House of Representatives, you have the chaplain, the chief administrative officer, the clerk, historian, parliamentarian, reading clerks, and sergeant-at-arms. So yeah, and that will be the introductory episode looking at the 119th Congress. So yeah, with that said, as always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting this webpage in the description box below the videos. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you, well, if I can move my mouse right. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.